Let me say something about the big change in direction of legal services, which occurred during the Reagan administration. In the beginning, it was federal money and federal impetus that got us going. But in the Reagan era, the Reagan administration was so intent on taking revenge for the success of legal services in California that it was determined to shut down that federal support for what it viewed as a out-of-control communist program. And it did that quite successfully by, in Congress, having conditions imposed on the federal money, which a lot of us found were just too restrictive of what we needed to do for our clients. Among those conditions are some that have become famous and familiar. No class actions with federal money, no legislative lobbying with federal money except under very restricted conditions, and no attempts to recover attorney's fees for our clients even when they're permitted by state law and federal law. And those conditions together, many people felt, had a severe impact on our potential to do any really significant work for low-income people. Different people perceived it in different ways. I think it was obvious that the inability to perform class action litigation was important in cutting off some of the more dramatic things that we had been doing. To my mind, however, the most important of all of those was the restriction on getting attorney's fees for our clients, which of course would go to the program ultimately. But the reason that was so important is that in everyday cases, we could win and the other side would walk away pretty much scot-free because there was little price to pay. Even if our clients received damages for something that had happened to them, those damages were by their circumstances, often pretty modest. And yet the taxpayer had ended up bearing the cost of achieving even that, or of defending them against something, when it should have been, according to state law and federal law that says if you do this then you have to pay the other side's attorney's fees, should have been borne by the wrongdoer. And so we had, by that restriction, lost a really important tool for both negotiation and for vindication of a lot of the rights of our clients. And we were among a few programs in Virginia that chafed at the notion sufficiently to come up with a plan for separating out our funds so that we would no longer take the federal money that came with those conditions. And our program broke into two parts, and the federal money went one way, and we utilized the state money that the Legal Services Corporation of Virginia was producing very successfully to go the other way and be free of those restrictions. And over time, well, that really did preserve our independence. At the time, the money from state sources was more than the federal money. So it, because of the foresight of those who had made that money available in Virginia, we were able to weather that attack on advocacy pretty successfully, I think. Over time, that has eroded somewhat because the federal conditions that we viewed as so heinous were either struck down or gradually eliminated by the Congress, but they haven't been entirely eliminated even now. And I think that it's critical to our future that we always look carefully to preserve those tools that lawyers should have. Unrestrained litigation, lobbying, in order to be effective for our clients. And I think if the price of not doing that was and would be that we would lose the interest of people who want to do this work and do it effectively, and would find something else to do if this work was hamstrung or restrained. So I think we've with a lot of help from the Legal Services Corporation of Virginia, we've been successful in kind of putting our finger in the dike to make sure that some effective advocacy still gets done. I think the Legal Aid Justice Center is the prime example in Virginia of relying on non-federal money to make it work, and has done a spectacular job. We try to do our part here in our state-funded legal aid society.
And the Legal Aid Justice Center, for example, can tackle issues of immigration because they don't get federal funding.
That's right.
Whereas their counterpart cannot because they get
That's
federal
right.
funding.
That's right.